Hello there. Thank you so much for watching the next video of Shushoku Cafe. My name is Kasia. I'm the founder of Ikigai Connections, and I run the job board called Nihongo Jobs. And with me is Takeshi-san, who is working with a great recruiting company called Quick USA. So we are here to kind of help share things that people often ask us or things about job ads that we see that we wish job seekers understood because there's so much out there, the great opportunities that not a lot of people apply to because they just don't know what it's about. So in this video, we're talking about sales in general. There's things like account management, there's inside sales, there's outside sales. So what does all this mean? So we're going to be asking some questions to Takeshi-san today. So let's start off with a very general question. Give us a sales overview. What does this mean?
Great question. When we talk about the sales, everybody has a different type of the view about the sales. And a lot of time, most of the candidates hear about this. Oh, I cannot be sales. I cannot oversell. I cannot upsell. Or it's like your salary is going to be like a roller coaster, like up and down, commission basis, and then have to be aggressive, something like that. But most of the time, that's not true. Of course, there's gonna be some industry in US, it's very aggressive sales style industry, something like that. But what I want to talk is like for Japanese company who is located in US, for those companies, when they have a sales positions, it's first of all, most of the time is a high base salary because they don't want the employees to be worried about their salary wise going up and down, something like that. So they want to make sure everybody feel comfortable working and then can think about long term. So first of all, for the sales, not a lot of base. And then of course there's a commission, the incentive most of the time to give you like a appreciate you, hard work, something like that. So that's one thing I want to tell first. And between the sales, actually there's a big differences. One position which is called account management and other one called outside sales. And the other position is usually called inside sales or sales assistant. Those three positions is sales positions, but it's completely different category for that. So I want everybody to understand what the difference is, and maybe one of them gonna match for your interest.
Thank you. And you hit it spot on. I think when the word sales comes up in any kind of job opportunity, everyone gets really nervous and like, no, no, no. Like I'm an introvert. I don't do that kind of stuff. I can't interact with people like that. But really, like you said, we should dig into what each of these means. So let's start off with the first one. What is an account manager?
All right, good question. Yes. So account manager is not what you thought about the sales typically. The sales typically is go outside, get a new client, something like that. Account manager is totally different concept. Account manager, you are assigned some specific client, like depend on the company, it's different, maybe 5 client or 10 clients, something like that. What the company expect you is you keep the relationship with your client, existing client, and build a better relationship and they increase the business volume with them. So you do not have to be go out too much, meeting every different time person every time or something like that. You meet specific person and then keep relationship and then understanding what is their problem and how can we solve about it. So that's kind of the way of the business is a account manager. So you don't have to be too much outgoing, even the introvert. But if you are good with communicating with somebody else, if you love talking with somebody and then have a great communication with them, then account manager is one of the great way to use your skill set. Maybe your Japanese skill, or maybe your understanding like about overseas, or maybe your interest about the industry. Then you can do with the account manager. Doesn't have to be going out every day somewhere, like, asking knock, knock or something like that.
That is a great explanation. I was actually wondering how you were going to explain this. It was perfect. Is it correct to say maybe that they could be like the Madoguchi or the main contact point for their customers? Is that what they would also be involved with?
Yes, exactly. And, as you keep the relationship with the client all the time on all the time person, so it's gonna create more relationship, like a more friend words, like, you talk about, like, different things, You eat the dinner together and then talk about the future. So it's very nice feeling to create, new relationship with the client.
Nice. So then what about the outside sales?
So outside sales might be like a typical sales position, which most of the candidates imagine about it. Outside sales is going to be most of the time you go out and then find new client. So depend on the item, it's different, but most of the time like go for some uh fair or some event and they find new client. Or sometime there's a list of the company, so you send out email, you may make a phone call, or sometimes you visit them, different industry. But most of the time, you go out a lot from the office and then you visit new client and a new person and a new client, something like that. So if you're more outgoing person, you like to be out of your office, out of the house, and then discover new things, something like that. If you're a more adventure person, or if you're more like you want to feel like this is the result of what I did, something like that, then this outside sales is going to be a great positions for you.
Nice. And then what about inside sales? How is that different?
So inside sales is more close for a account manager. Inside sales, it used to be like in the office. Like you don't go out too much, but the client gonna ask you the questions. But sometimes you support for the sales team. So you're the member of a sales team to create new sales, something like that. But you don't have to go around somewhere else. Mainly working from office or more working from house or something like that. So for some person who is good for communicate with the client and then okay to be a little in the team of the sales team, but you cannot travel a lot because of some reason, something like that, then inside sales or sales assistant would be a good fit for you.
And since we're talking about Japanese jobs in general, can you share what you think the level of Nihongo should be for sales jobs in general or any of these roles that we mentioned?
A lot of sales position account manager right now they are looking for somebody who is fluent in English, more fluent in the English. They want to have somebody who knows the culture in US because they are coming to US market and they want to expand the businesses in US. They prefer who is fluent in English and who knows in here this culture. But having some Japanese skills always good plus because internally with your coworkers and then for most of the project is related with Japanese headquarter. So if you are fluent in Japanese, you have more chances to get involved more higher positions in the future. You have a lot of chances to go to Japan, something like that. And then some specific industry, their client is required in Japanese, something like that. So positions they require like a fluency in Japanese as well. It's not required, but it's a huge big plus for your opportunity or something like that.
And I'll just add a little bit more to that example, focusing on if there is a Japan headquartered company in the US who is dealing with Japanese speakers, native
Mhm.
Japanese speakers in a maybe another smaller company, distributor, supplier, or it becomes their customer, even though some companies I think are there's like a 50-50, and you can tell me what you think, Takeshi-san. Some companies I deal with require that the person who's doing the sales with companies directly from Japan that are in the US, maybe they're only Japanese employees there, they want them to be super fluent in Japanese to understand honorifics and keigo and speak beautifully. But then there's also a group of companies who say that mix of not perfect Japanese, but knowing business culture skills can be just as important as being perfectly fluent. So, what are your thoughts to that?
So as of my thought, as you mentioned, the second part of the candidate is the demand on there is growing. So because as I said, like they are coming to the US market. They want to open the US client. So knowing the Japanese culture because you connect to Japanese headquarters, something like that, or you know some sense of Japanese culture, it's great. And they really value a lot for that. So of course there's still some position, they very, very picky about a specific Keigo and Japanese, but majority is now becoming like a at least you're writing Japanese, you're interested in Japan or you know the culture, then that's good enough for apply for those position.
Oh, I think that's great. I think that I hope that you just get the inspiration to just keep learning every day, and hopefully it will be fun to work in a sales related position. So, thank you so much for joining us. We hope it's so much clearer. And if you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to comment on the video or reach out to Quick USA or Ikigai Connections. We'll be very, very happy to answer your questions. So, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.